So one of the things that I believe in is that as long as we're alive, we're never really going to be able to run away from certain things. One of these things is, for example, truth. We cannot run away from the truth. And in relation to that, you cannot also run away from the consequences of your own lies. And thirdly, we have human condition. I believe you cannot also run away from human condition. Now, some people may think that what they do is mostly because of their own free will or their own decisions, but as we know, we can trace a lot of our behavior back to a lot of primitive instincts, like, for example, hunger, anger, lust, desire for vengeance. So because of all of this, we're going to be faced with a lot of problems, a lot of tribulations, and we find ourselves trying to realize or understand what is the best approach, what's the best path, what's the best solution, how can I do this? And oftentimes we find out that the resolution is not really that hard to accomplish if it not were for our own fears, because sometimes it's just a matter of getting things and moving them and putting them into place, organizing things. But what's blocking us from accomplishing these things, it's often the fear. In this case, the fear of change. Now, most of these fears, we can trace back, as we know, to our childhood. One of the oldest and strongest fears that we have is the fear of the unknown, because we cannot stand the idea of not being able to know what's going to happen next, of not being able to control the situation or not being in control. And this also traces back to human condition, because we were surrounded by all sorts of dangerous animals that really threaten our lives. So it comes from not wanting to be attacked by surprise. So we have to make sense of things. We have to try to find an explanation. We have to find patterns. So this is where the stories come up. We need stories in order to navigate the world. We need stories in order to understand where we're going, where we came from, to make sense of things. Now, the most important story of all, I believe, is the one that we tell ourselves, because this is going to ultimately change, influence, or dictate the destination of our lives. But some people are afraid of death, and some people are afraid of life. But there's the fear that I want to talk about today, and this one is called the fear of outshining. Now, when it comes to the fear of that, let's say it's more obvious because we know instantly when we're facing danger to our lives. Let's say we come face to face with a lion, we know instantly that we're in danger. Let's say you're on top of a building and you're on the edge. If you give a step, you know that you're gonna fall, you're gonna die. So we have the instinct of, oh, hey, let me step back, let me protect myself from this danger. But there are other types of fears that are not so easy to identify. And the one that I want to talk about today is the fear of outshining, because what's really happening is that when you're under this fear, you believe that you're actually doing the right thing. You don't realize what you're afraid of, and you don't even notice that you're afraid of something. It is characterized by some things that I listed here. So one of these things is, for example, not wanting to outshine people with your feelings and opinions. Another one is going out with people who on some level you know and recognize that are punching below your own weight. Another one is, for example, minimizing your problems because everyone has bigger problems than yours. This is what we tell ourselves when we are really under the influence of the fear of outshining. Another one is suffering from imposter syndrome. I'm going to go into more detail later. Struggling to accept compliments and even betting them back. A lot of people actually do this. It doesn't mean that because you don't take compliments that easy, it doesn't mean that you're actually afraid of outshining someone. When it comes to the fear of outshining with your own feelings and your opinions, let me give you an example. Let's say you are in a conversation with a group of people and there's someone in this group who's talking about something that they're really passionate about, and you listen to that and you realize, hey, I'm also really fond of what you're talking about, and you realize that this person doesn't have enough knowledge, or maybe they're not actually capable enough. This is bestly translated to action when we're not capable of doing things with competence. But let's put it into a dialogue. So you don't want to intervene and tell everyone, hey, he doesn't know what he's talking about, right? Because you know that the person is passionate about what they're talking about, so you don't want to outshine them with the knowledge that you have and the conclusion that you took and the realization that you had that, hey, I know more about this topic than you. Maybe I'm more experienced, maybe I'm more competent to talk about this specific thing. But you don't do it because you don't want to outshine this person. You don't want to take away the spotlight to this person. So this comes from a desire or an intent to protect the other person, but it's really an illusion or a lie that we're telling ourselves, because we're mistaking empathy for pity. Another one about the fear of outshining, when it comes to going out with people who on some level you recognize that are punching below your weight. Well, this is one of the things that characterize people who have a fear of outshining, which is they go and walk and always interact, or they're inserted in a group of people that don't match their own competence, their own capabilities, because they're always trying to uplift others in order to have a cope mechanism to the fear of outshining. So they feel, hey, I'm uplifting them, so this makes me feel less guilty about what I'm capable of doing. Thirdly, about the fear of outshining, minimizing your own problems because you understand that other people in the world have bigger problems. Now, this is really wrong, because our problems and your problems also matter. And one thing that I like to say is that we sometimes have to be selfish. I'm also saying this to myself because I really have to learn this a lot. So we have to be good first in order to be able to give our best to other people. But for that, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to place boundaries. We have to say, no, right now I need this time for me. Right now, I can't do this. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to wait when I am emotionally available, when I have the strength, when I'm capable of showing myself, when I have the energy to show myself and give you my aim, give you my support. Because how can we do this and make a positive effect if we're not also in a situation where we have our things sorted out, when we're not coming from a place of order, when we're not coming from a place of peace, we're not coming from a place of stability, we're not coming from a place of knowing that, hey, I can give you my hand, but I also have enough strength to support myself just in case you actually need my hand more than I do right now. Fourthly, about the fear of outshining, suffering from imposter syndrome. This comes from not internalizing or not celebrating our own accomplishments, and often even feeling bad just by thinking about it, or even feeling like a fraud, like you're not actually who you are, you're just pretending to be. But that's completely wrong, especially when you have accomplishments that show what you've built. Fifthly, about the fear of outshining, is putting aside a talent or a hobby out of fear that you're going to be ostracized by your peer group. Now, this is a really bad one, because we often find ourselves in relationships and in friendships where we notice that these people are getting upset about who we are. This makes us turn into the attitude of the person who's afraid of outshining, because we got used to, maybe throughout our whole life, to actually not say, no, I'm going to be me. And if you don't accept me, I'm going to say goodbye to you, and I'm going to move on with my life to a place where I'm celebrated, where I'm accepted. I don't have to dim my light in order to fit your own box. I don't have to dim my light in order to please you. This is who I am. If you don't like who I am, well, I'm sorry, but we cannot keep this relationship going. Just go live your life. I'm going to go and live my life. And this way, we're going to both be happy. It's really you thinking that you're doing good for the other person by not manifesting your true potential, by hiding yourself, by oppressing yourself. And this clearly is going to give us a lot of bad outcomes and consequences, and it's probably and most definitely not going to bring us a lot of good things, because most of the things that we do need an opportunity. We may have a lot of talents, we may have a lot of skills, we may be capable of doing a lot of things, but we need a tribulation, we need a challenge, because these things are opportunities for us to show to the world who we are and what we're capable of, and really to prove ourselves as worthy of something, especially a place where we belong. Because how can the world know who we are, who you are, if we don't manifest what we do? The thing about this that I always tell people is that, people see you or describe you or profile you based on what you've already done. We always doing that. We have to find a way to make sense of the world, right? This comes back to the stories thing. We need to find a story for something in order to make sense of the world, so that we can operate and say, maybe, hey, maybe this person can be my friend, maybe this person can be my colleague, maybe I can talk to this person about this specific thing that is really more private to my life. So even when people don't give us enough information, we always trying to do this. And what happens is that, I know some people that say, hey, I'm from the same tribe, I belong to that tribe, but when I come around, they don't realize that I'm part of the tribe. Well, how would they know if you don't show that you are? You think that people out of the blue realize like magic that you are a part of that group, or you have the same interests, or you trying to aim for the same things if you're not showing anything? This is not some sort of witchcraft. Once again, people see us for what we already done, but we see ourselves based on what we're capable. So there's a disconnection here from how we perceive ourselves and how the world treats you, how the world treats us. And with the fear of outshining, we end up not showing who we are, and we end up always being treated as someone that we are not. Now, this doesn't mean that we should go around trying to prove people a lot of things, because it's not about the external, it's about the inside. So this is clearly something that also affects our internal world, because we're feeling like we're being cut short. So this is one of the first things that happened with the fear of outshining, is that people who suffer from this fear, they don't manifest who they are by sharing their own ideas, their own opinions, and their own feelings, because they always think that other people's feelings are more important than theirs for them to share. They don't want to do it because they don't want to minimize what other people are feeling. So consequently, they end up not showing who they truly are. They end up not manifesting their own ideas, not sharing their own ideas, their own feelings, because of the fear of minimizing someone else's ideas. So all of these things are connected to each other. So lastly, we have the struggle to accept compliments that really traces back to all of the things that we talked about here. In conclusion, this is really trying to control the uncontrollable, which is energies. People have different energies, people have different vibrations. So instead of trying to do this, the best thing that we can do is just really learn how to interact with specific types of energies depending on the situation, without actually trying to think that we are going to outshine them if we manifest something that we identify as being more intense than the energy that they're manifesting. And this is also seeing things from a perspective where we have to put people in specific domains, and we have to put people as parts of something that is really categorized under a subdomain. But at the end of the day, people are more than this. We are more complex than this. So all of the things about this are wrong and are not healthy. So what I would say, what I would advise, because this is also something that I'm trying to do to myself, of course, is stop comparing, which is really hard these days because we're always trying to measure what we've accomplished based on what other people accomplished. It has always been like this, but especially nowadays, we know how hard it is not to do this. But I would say just ask one of the best questions that we always have to ask, which is why? Why am I doing this? Who am I trying to protect? Where is this coming from? Why am I behaving like this? So lastly, I would say stop comparing, stop playing it small to magnify another person, because our powers lie in building ourselves up, in lighting ourselves up. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to have serenity among chaos and method in madness.